Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be looking at IGCSE Biology Chapter 2 Cells. Let's begin. So our objectives for today is to understand what a cell is, compare the structure of an animal cell to the one of a plant cell, state the function of the parts of the plants and animal cell. Let's begin. So what is a cell? Basically, a cell is the basic unit of life. All living things are made up of cells, and formation of our body parts happens due to cell division. Some living things are only made up of one cell, and others are made up of many different cells. Now, organisms that are made up of only one cell are called unicellular organisms. We have amoeba, paramecium, we have bacteria as well, we have yeast, and many more. And organisms that are made up of many different cells are called multicellular organisms. Human beings, birds, plants, and etc. We have a lot. Alright, so let's look at the structure of the plant. So in the structure of the plant, let's begin with the cell wall and cell membrane. So one thing we must know is that, let me draw it. Okay, I'm just drawing a segment of it. So the one outside is our cell wall, and the one inside is our cell membrane. That's one thing we must always remember, and I'll talk about them in detail in the next coming video, next coming slide, sorry. Okay, now in the plant cell we have our nucleus, we have cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the fluid that like all these nucleus, vacuole, mitochondria are into. We have our cytoplasm, then this big vacuole, and don't worry, we'll discuss their characteristics and all of that in the next slide. We have our vacuole, then we have our mitochondria, which looks like this. Chloroplast, this is where the photosynthesis and all happens, and then we have dot like this. These are called ribosomes. Alright. Okay, functions of the parts of the plant cell. To begin with, the nucleus. The nucleus controls all the activities of the cell. So the nucleus is like the brain of the cell. The brain of the cell. Okay, moving on, we have the cell membrane. The cell membrane is partially permeable. Now this is a key word here. It's a partially permeable structure which controls the exchange of materials between the cell and its environment. Partially permeable means that it allows only certain, looks like I did add the only certain substances in and out of the cells, but not the others. Let me give an example, like diagram. Okay, let's say this is our cell. Let's say, yeah, our cell wall, cell membrane. In fact, let me do cell wall and then come here. Okay, partially permeable. Okay, we looked at that. So we have cellular cell wall. The cell wall is found in plants only. It forms a frame which supports, protects, and gives shape to the cell. The cellulose in the cell gives strength to the cell wall. Oh, looks like I didn't add this, but then the cell wall is fully permeable. Which means it allows all substances in and out of the cell. So, okay, we were here. This is our cell membrane. This is our cell wall. So we said that the cell wall allows all substances to go in. Let's say I have a particle X and I have a particle Y. So the cell wall will allow X to move in and also the Y to move in. But then depending on what X and Y are, the cell membrane would decide whether to let X go or Y go. If Y is harmful to the plant cell, it will block it, it will not allow it to go. But then let's say X was water, it will easily let it go and come back and in and out of the cell. That's that. Moving on, we have the mitochondria. The mitochondria looks like this, if you have forgotten. It is the powerhouse of the cell which gives energy to the cell through cellular respiration. Okay, even though you haven't done respiration so far, let me just write the equation for respiration. Respiration is 6O2 plus C6H12O6 giving us CO2, 6CO2 plus 6H2O. Now this is where the main thing comes. Plus energy. So as we said, respiration happens in the mitochondria, which releases energy to the cell. Then we have our chloroplasts, which look like this. This is the site where photosynthesis happens in the plant. Note that chloroplasts are only found in plants. Only found in plant cells. In plant cells. It contains green pigment called chlorophyll, which traps energy from the sun for photosynthesis, and it also gives the green color to the leaves and the plants. Then we have vacuole. It's a fluid-filled sac in the cell. It's made of sugary solution called the cell sac. It regulates the osmotic properties of the cell. Now, another key thing to note, the vacuole, the size. In animal, the size of the vacuole or the vesicle is very small, like this big. But then when it comes to plants, as we looked or as we saw, the size of the vacuole is very big. Okay, that's one key point to note. Then we have the cytoplasm. This part contains about 70% of water in the cell. It's the site where all metabolic reaction in the cell occur. Easy. Ribosomes are these ones, if you have forgotten. This is the site for protein synthesis. You will learn about this later in probably grade 10 or so, but don't worry, I'll make another video on it if you are really interested. Then we have looked at the structure of the plant cell. Now let's look at the structure of the animal cell. In the animal cell, you will notice that there is no cell wall. We only have a cell membrane. Then we have mitochondria. We have our vacuole or vesicle, as I said, any name. Then we have our ribosomes and our nucleus and our cytoplasm. Now we need to know the differences and similarities between animal cell and plant cell, because they always come in the MCQs. Trust me, they will come. Plant cell and animal cell. Plant cells have cellular cell wall, whereas animal cells do not have cell wall. Plant cells have chloroplasts present. They use a chloroplast for photosynthesis, but then animals do not survive on feed on photosynthesis. That's why we don't have chloroplasts in our animal cell photosynthesis. Sorry, animal cells do not have chloroplasts present. As I said, plant cells have a larger vacuole, and animal cells have a smaller vacuole. Those were the differences. Now we must know their similarities as well. In similarities, both the cells have cell membrane, both have nucleus, mitochondria, cytoplasm, and also ribosomes. I'm sorry I forgot to add them, ribosomes. Yeah. Then we must look at bacterial cells or prokaryote. And why are they called prokaryote? Because pro means before and karyote means nuclei. Before nuclei, meaning that the bacterial cells do not have a nucleus. Okay, bacterial cells are unicellular organisms. They have the cell structure different from plants and animals. They have cell wall without cellulose. This is the main part. Without cellulose. We know the cell wall for plants is made up of cellulose, but then in bacteria it is not made up of cellulose. Without cellulose is cell membrane, cytoplasm, and ribosome. They have no chloroplast and mitochondria, and they have no nucleus, where it comes from the before nucleus or prokaryote from the name itself. They have DNA, which provides instructions for making proteins, does the work of this. They have smaller cycles of DNA called plasmids. Now you're really need to focus on this later. You're not going to dive deep in this, but then later it will come, so just have a basic idea of it. Plasmids are used in the genetic modification of cells. This will be taught in grade 10, don't worry. Then we must know the difference between eukaryote and prokaryote. EU stands for good, and karyote, as we know, stands for nuclei. So good nuclei. And pro means before. I mean, I told you all, but let me just write it. And karyote means nuclei. So eukaryote is any cell or organisms that possesses a clearly defined nucleus. The clearly defined nucleus comes from the good nucleus. The eukaryotic cell has a nuclear membrane that surrounds the nucleus, in which the well-defined chromosomes, bodies containing the hereditary material, are located. Prokaryote is any organism that lacks a distinct nucleus and other organelles due to the absence of internal membranes. Bacteria are among the best of the prokaryote organisms. Bacteria are the best known. The lack of internal membrane in prokaryote distinguishes them from eukaryotes. Now we must also talk about specialized cell. So the first we have is the ciliated cell. It controls the movement of mucus in the trachea and bronchi. Another key thing to note here is that in the MCQs, sometimes they might mention trachea, or sometimes they might mention on the lining of trachea or bronchi. So you may choose both if they will give like trachea and bronchi, or if only trachea is given, then you choose only trachea, or if only bronchi is given, you choose bronchia. They are both correct. So it pushes mucus up the throat. Then we have root hair cells, absorption of substance from the soil to the root. Another key thing to note here, this long structure of it allows for a greater surface area, which leads to more absorption. So how does water enter the root hair cell? As we can see, there's a lot of water molecules outside, but very few. Due to the concentration gradient, the water diffuses inside. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Then we have the palisade mesophyll cell. Sorry for my mispronunciation. This is the site for photosynthesis in the plant. The palisade mesophyll, really sorry, are these ones. They are responsible for photosynthesis in the plant. Then we have red blood cells, which carry oxygen throughout the body. Yes. Then we have the sperm cell and egg cell. These are responsible for reproduction. This is the male sperm cell, which is I think produced in the testes or so, if I'm correct. And the female egg structure is in the ovaries. Now, a child is made or is reproduced when the sperm cell and the female egg fertilize together. So these are one of the specialized cells that we have in our body. This is only found in male though, and this is only found in female. Don't go and tell your teacher that these female egg structures are found in male. Alright, now we must know our key definitions. Cell is the basic unit of life, or the building block of life, if you like it like that. Tissue is a group of cells performing the same functions. Organ is a group of tissues performing the same function. And organ system is a group of organs performing the same function. Oh, I repeated that a lot of times. Let me just break it down to you. So first we have cell organelles. You won't be taught this, the organelles one, but I'm teaching this one. Organelles, which form the cell. A group of cells form tissues. Group of tissues form an organ. A group of organs form an organ system. And a group of organ systems forms an organism. Yep. And I think, yeah, tissues and leaf, we have to talk about this. So this is the structure of the tissue in a leaf. So at the top we have our waxy cuticle. This top part is the waxy cuticle, which is directly above the upper epidermis. Then these cells here are our upper epidermis cells, and the ones at the down are our lower epidermis cells, and these are guard cells. We'll talk about this in the next chapter, not this chapter. We'll just label guard cells and air spaces. Then we have the palisade mesophyll cell. As we talked about this, these are the cells responsible for photosynthesis, which is why they have a lot of chloroplasts, which allows for more photosynthesis to happen. So these are palisade mesophyll cell, and these are our spongy mesophyll cell. This is the vascular bundle, which consists of xylem and phloem. Again, we'll talk about this. Don't stress yourself. We'll talk about this in the next video. And together, the mesophyll layer is formed with the spongy and palisade mesophyll. Now, sometimes your teacher may give it like this instead of the previous one in your test, and ask you to label. Basically, what you do is the top part we know is the waxy cuticle. The one directly under is our upper epidermis, and the one below is our lower epidermis with our guard cells and stomata in the middle. Then this is our palisade mesophyll cell, which are responsible for photosynthesis. These big structures 1 and 2 are the vascular bundle, which consists of xylem and phloem. Remember that. And the rest is our spongy mesophyll. and we know that palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll form the mesophyll layer. And yes, that should be it for this video. I hope you all learned something new. Make sure to comment. If I made any mistake, feel free to correct me, and then I will see you in the next video. Till then, tada.